Hi everyone, this is Paul Cooper with Totes and Notes, and I'm bringing you the fifth video, which covers the fourth clause all of your business ventures desperately need, and it's covering death and disability. Not a very pleasant conversation or topic to think on, but it's really important that you get this ironed out. Whether you're working in the business or someone else's, it'll make things go a lot more smoothly. Same thing with estate planning. Make sure to get any type of estate planning for yourself, your businesses, get that done as well. And as always, I am still not a lawyer or attorney or any type of certified legal accountant, so make sure that you get all of this information I'm presenting. Make sure you have a professional go over it with you. Again, I'm just doing a very brief introduction on some of these topics, and I may not be the most up to date, and this just kind of get the wheels spinning so you can start thinking on what you need to do. So obviously, if someone's either dead or disabled, the major concern is, if they're alive, do they need to go to the hospital? Do you need to make some type of funeral arrangements? But there are a lot of issues once that initial burst of activity is completed. Some things you got to think about are the employees. What's going to happen to them? Are you going to be able to make payroll? Are they going to have jobs? Are they going to be able to have jobs long term? What are they going to think? If it's uncertain, some of your best employees may jump ship and leave, even though you have contingency plans or you fully intend to keep the business open. If they don't know that and you don't get the ball rolling quickly, it could really create a lot of uncertainty and really hurt morale. Now, business continuity. What's going to happen? What happens next? Is there a plan? Is there some type of contingency plan? Does this person move into another position? Do these group of people hire a person or people to replace the value and the skills that were lost? What happens there? It could be that the business goes to sale. Customers and investors. Obviously, if you have investors, you're going to want some type of contingency for them. And if you're an investor, you're going to want some type of contingency. The person that's managing your money or the business or whatever you're invested in is make sure that they have something set up to where if they pass or are disabled, that business can keep on moving. There may be a hiccup and there may be a few speed bumps, but if you can't get something going within a few weeks or at least within a month, then that's going to create a lot of uncertainty and potentially pretty big financial hardship for them. And for your customers, they may really be depending on your service. And so if they don't know what's going on, it's going to be really hard for them to do the right thing to be taken care of. And with the note business, that'd be your borrowers. Now, in the note business, your borrowers really probably shouldn't even know, and it should be no big deal to them since you should have servicing and other vendors taking care of the direct outreach to them. Partners, it's going to be very similar to investors. Let's say it's a two-person partnership. One of those people is generally going to be the financial backer, and the other person's going to be doing the work. So depending on who passes away or becomes disabled will greatly affect the business. If it's the kind of silent partner that's just bringing the money, while that's terrible and it could negatively affect your business as far as getting more funds that you need, the day-to-day operations should hopefully move forward without too much of an issue or any issue. If it's the managing member, it could be a very big deal because now, unless they have some other type of employees or vendors or some type of contingency in place to step up to take over the day-to-day operations, the day-to-day operations could basically cease to happen. And while that's not the end of the world, if you're looking to have a long-term business, it could be. But again, if you're looking to have a long-term business, at some point you're going to need to grow beyond just a two-person partnership, and there should be other people that can step in and help with the day-to-day management. Family members, obviously this can be extremely devastating, whether it's death or disability. Not only could they be in financial jeopardy because the business may not be making any money, obviously they're probably under a huge amount of emotional stress. They may not make the best decisions, especially if that's combined with some financial problems. And you want to make sure that they're taken care of and they're not having to make hard decisions during a really difficult time. Just like, if you have a will, you want to have everything laid out as far as do not resuscitate, or if you want to be resuscitated. You don't want your family members having to make those tough choices for you when they're under all that stress, especially if you can hopefully have it known and it's just out there so that all the guesswork's done. So what exactly can be done to protect your business? We talked about some of the issues that can affect your business, you and your family and the partners and everyone else. But what can you actually do? Well, there's what's really common in smaller business, especially partnerships or two-member LLCs or companies, is you'll have a buy-sell agreement. So if a member was to become disabled, and it looks like they're probably going to be disabled for either permanently or for the foreseeable future, really long time, then what may happen is you have a buy-sell agreement that kicks in to where the other member or members have to buy that member out of their position. And what'll sometimes happen is you'll either have an agreed upon amount that you'll look at every quarter, 6 months, a year, where you'll value it, or what's also common is you'll have a third party to value the company. That third party will come up with a number that should be reasonable, since everyone agreed upon them to value the company to begin with, and then that person would be bought out at that price, or their interest would be bought out at that price. What's also common once businesses start to get larger, or you really start to have really solid management in place to where the members, owners, whatever you want to call them, don't have to be involved in the day-to-day operations. What you'll have is you'll have the business organization set up, you'll have the operating agreement set up if it's LLC, or and you'll have some type of continuity agreement to where person A is the CEO, they handle these job duties. So what will happen when they're gone? Well, maybe this person underneath him will handle HR, this other person will handle investor outreach. You'll have it divided up, or it could be to where you'll have another person that just takes over. It could be an interim role, or it could be a more permanent role. What'll also happen is a lot of times you'll have members that are either the owners or board members will come together and choose a replacement and try to hire a replacement for the person that's now either dead or incapacitated. That way the business can keep moving. What can also happen is you can have another agent take over, and usually this would be a temporary service. And let's say you have a note business, your spouse or family members aren't going to be able to take care of your business if something was to happen to you, and maybe they wouldn't even want to. And so what it may be a better option is that your business eventually dissolves. And so what they may do is you have a trusted mentor, someone else that you know that handles the business well, that you can trust. They'll come in as an agent. And almost be like a trustee. That person's going to be paid, and hopefully you have that all set up front, and they can come in and help run the business, liquidate the assets at a good price, and basically handle the business over a longer term, so you're not having to do a fireside sale and have everything done in 30 to 90 days. But the goal is to get your business out of all their positions and to make the most money for the remaining members and for the interest of the person that's either deceased or disabled. So now that part is taken care of, what are some other things that are really, really easy to do? Insurance. I hate dealing with insurance salesmen, but insurance can really, really help give you a peace of mind and really, really help out in a difficult situation. So life insurance, some term life insurance, you can get that on all the key members in the business. It's up to the business to decide who's the key member. And what usually will happen then is the life insurance is owned and paid for by the business, and it comes back to the business if that person was to have some type of qualifying event. Same thing with disability insurance. And what'll happen a lot of times is disability insurance is actually the better insurance to get for on the key person that runs the business, because a lot of times they won't die, they'll just be disabled. So what'll happen is they may not be able to run the business for 3-6 months, possibly even a year. But if you have disability insurance on them, then that person can still get paid. So that brings us to our last one, business overhead. And this is kind of a hybrid insurance. Basically, the way that I look at business overhead is think of it as disability insurance for the business. So instead of disability insurance going to the person that became disabled, the business overhead insurance would pay that money to the business. So in my case, if I was to become disabled and I had business overhead insurance, the business overhead insurance policy would kick in just like disabilities. And what will happen is there'll be a term, 30 to 120 days on average, and usually the 120 days is the minimum, otherwise it gets really expensive. So after 120 days of that person having a qualifying event to where they can't work, then the business overhead insurance policy kicks in and now will pay a certain amount of money for a certain amount of time to the business so the business can keep operating. And that's going to be completely dependent on what your business needs, whether it's $1,000 a month or $100,000 a month. If they need it immediately that, that month that it happens, or if the business has enough money to go for 6 months before it would really need this policy to kick in. But something to think about. And again, the way I think about it is business overhead is just like disability, but it's for the business as opposed to that one individual disabled person getting it. Again, planning is probably going to be the biggest thing for any type of business problem, goal, and solution, whether it's your business venture, your agreements, death and disability, or just long-term growth and success. So one of the things you can do when it comes to planning for your business, if you were to become disabled or there was a death, is to think of your role as an employee. Yes, you're the business owner, but what do you do as an employee? Does anyone else do that? Is anyone else capable of doing that? What can your management team do? Do you have a management team? If it's a one-person show, then you're going to be a lot more susceptible to death or disability. But then again, in that case, you probably just set up a disability or life insurance policy for that one individual. If you're the sole proprietor, you just get the life insurance and the disability insurance on yourself. And if something was to happen to you, then hopefully at least your family's taken care of. But again, if you have any type of employees, you're going to want some type of management team, hopefully some type of planning. That way they know where to go, whether that's hiring a person to replace you or they start filling in roles or promotions, whatever. So what are some other legal options? There's a living trust. You could get a living trust and leave detailed guidance for the trustee in there. That's similar to what I was talking about with the agent, except now as opposed to you, the individual, having your interest in the business, you would put that in your living trust. The living trust now has your interest in the business. You leave detailed guidance, and you would be the trustee of that trust until something happens, and then another trustee would step in. One of the issues is you can leave a detailed guidance for the trustee, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they have to follow it by law. So you need to be careful with that. And again, always choose someone that you can really trust, as the name implies. That could be an attorney, and a family member, an accountant, some other type of professional, but someone that's going to have the best interest, you, your family, and your company while you're either indisposed or dead. Power of attorney is another option. It's not the greatest because it's really only good for disability. You don't want to have a bunch of power of attorney set up because they're really not going to help if you die, because now there needs to be some type of chain of succession. But if for temporary incapacitation, disability, especially like if you were going to go in for some type of surgery, and you think that maybe you're going to be disabled for a few days or incapacitated because you'll be on a bunch of meds, then limited power of attorney would be great in that instance. But you don't want to have a bunch of power of attorneys going out to everyone. And then just like the final option is a bank signatory power. Again, you don't want everyone to probably have that power. And it's going to depend on your bank as well. Like some banks, someone's either authorized or they're not, and they can basically do anything. You may be able to work out other agreements where certain people are authorized to do transactions up to a certain dollar amount, or only certain types of transactions for expenses. Again, banks are generally going to want it to be an all or nothing thing because they don't want to have to deal with the hassle and the work of policing your people to see who has what power. And so, yep, Carol from accounting, you could give her bank signatory power, and then she could go do all of your accounting stuff, pay vendors, pay employees. That's going to be a pretty big deal if you're incapacitated or dead. But that's pretty much it for this episode. We just covered a few options here. Big ones you're going to see covered a lot are making sure that you have a good continuity agreement set up, and then getting appropriate insurance. That'll really help smooth things over and keep your business running while someone, either yourself or some other member in the business or your venture, is either incapacitated or dead. Again, not a very fun topic to talk about, but it's really important. If you all have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I hope you all have a good weekend. Take care.